Hello you guys, welcome back to week 2 of my 90 days to home ownership challenge. This week we are talking about understanding the home buying process. So I'm going to give you a 30,000 foot view because I could honestly elaborate on all of these topics for way too long and I don't want to do that. I want to make this quick and concise as I said last week. So let's get started. Side note, I had surgery last week, so this side of my face is not working. If it looks weird like it looks weird to me right now, that's why. If I smile, it doesn't really lift up. So I'm just making that apparent so that no one is staring and wondering what is going on. Let's jump in. Step 1 in the home buying process is obtaining financing. So you could either come to your realtor and ask them for suggestions, or you could start out at a local bank and you can ask them for realtor recommendations as well, and they might send you to a realtor. Your realtor might send you to them, vice versa. When you get your finances in order, you are going to have to submit a number of documents to the bank. They're going to ask for pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, your ID, a lot of information, and they're just going to run your credit check and give you a price that you're approved for. That's your ticket to know what price of home you could start shopping for. You'll know your monthly payment, your estimated insurance and taxes. You'll want to make sure you locate where your down payment and your closing cost funds are going to come from. Your down payment could be money that you've been saving up. It could come from a family member. It could really come from pretty much anywhere, but it needs to be documented and you need to inform your lender where that money's coming from. And then your closing costs, these are additional funds that are owed on top of your down payment. They do run a few $1,000s. It all depends on your purchase price. The seller could agree to pay them. Sometimes they won't, but make sure you have those funds set aside as well and talk to your lender to know what those funds could run you. The next step is searching for homes. So you'll want to make sure you locate your realtor and sign your contract to work with them. They will set you up on a listing search so that the second a new house hits the MLS, it's in your inbox. You don't have to wait for it to hit Zillow or Realtor. It's going to be right there in your email for you to schedule a showing with your agent. You'll make sure that the time and days to get into that home work for you and your realtor. After you find the home that you are ready to make an offer on, step 3 comes into play, and that is going under contract. So you will sit down with your agent and you will write up your offer. It's about 8 pages here in Montana. I know in other states it ranges from like 20 to 30 pages or potentially more, but here in Montana it's relatively simple. You will negotiate your purchase price, your earnest money, your closing costs, your closing date, and a number of other things, but your agent will go through that in detail with you when the time comes. You can negotiate those terms out with the seller. Usually a seller will counter back with your purchase price or the amount of closing costs you're asking. You should be able to get an offer under contract within 1 buy-sell written and 1 counter offer. The next step after you are fully under contract and both you and the seller have signed the offer is to deposit your earnest money. Earnest money here in Montana ranges from like $500 to a few thousand, depends on your purchase price, but most commonly in my price point that I work with, it's like $500 to $1,000. This money validates your offer, and this money gets held at the title company. It goes towards your final balance at closing, and if you were to ever terminate the contract based off of the contingencies in your buy-sell, which might not make sense right now, but it will down the road, you would get that money back. Step 4, once you're fully under contract and that earnest money is deposited, is to conduct your due diligence. This is all of the home inspections that you want to do. So you can do a standard home inspection, a radon test, a sewer inspection. If you needed additional plumbers or electricians out there, a roofer, you get all of that done within basically a 2 to 3 week period. Again, that's one of the items in the contract that's negotiated. And then you do have a few days to negotiate those items with the seller. If there's anything that comes up that you'd like the seller to fix, potentially installing a GFCI outlet near water sources or fixing a leaky roof, you'll negotiate those. The seller can say yes or no, but us agents really help to fight and make sure it's a win-win deal for you and the seller so that it works and you're both happy at the end of the day. Your lender will also order the appraisal, and the appraisal is just to show that the home is really worth the purchase price that you've offered. And then another step in this due diligence process, not necessarily the last one, is to obtain a homeowner's insurance quote. This just validates that the home is insurable. Sometimes there is a case that will come up where the current owners took out a claim on the roof from hail damage and never replaced the roof, making the roof uninsurable. So we just like to make sure that it's fully insurable before you close and then learn those things. So make sure to obtain a quote. It won't go into play until the day you close. And then step 5. I know I'm rushing through this, but like I said, 30,000 foot view for now. We'll dive in deeper if you guys have more questions down the road. But it's finally closing day. Earlier in this process, the title company will have ran a preliminary title search. It'll disclose any easements on the property, if the taxes are unpaid, if there's liens against the property, and all of those will be brought current or negotiated out in whatever form it has to be. You'll conduct a final walkthrough with your agent either the day of closing or maybe up to a few days before closing, just to make sure that the house is in the same, if not better, condition than when you left it, that any personal property items that you've requested in your offer are still at the house, and that the inspection items were truly completed before you sign. You will have a settlement statement that will tell you your final balance due at closing. You can either have that wired from your bank directly to the title company a few days in advance, or you can bring a cashier's check to the closing table. I strongly urge a cashier's check. It's just a lot safer in my opinion. Once you're at the closing table, you will sign a pretty hefty amount of paperwork that transfers all of the property information into your name. Everything that has been done thus far will be fully finalized at the closing table. The seller typically signs the exact same day, not at the same time or in the same room as you. You won't be in the same room as the seller, at least in Montana. But then a few hours later, the property will be fully recorded. You'll get the keys, you will have full access to the house, and your name will show up on the county record in a few weeks when they update the websites. That's the longest part. I remember when I bought my first home, I just kept refreshing it every single day to see if my name popped up, and it was probably like 6 weeks later when it finally did, but it was so cool seeing that. And then the title company will mail you your signed deed, and it's super cool. That was a lot. I will go deeper into these if you guys have more questions, or truly if you'd like to go get coffee with me, I am totally open to explaining this more. It can get a little bit confusing, especially being in like a first-time homebuyer's position. I do this every day, so this all makes sense to me, but it did take a while for me to even understand it as an agent. But you made it through week 2, congratulations. I will be back here next week for week 3, and that dives deeper into financing, I believe. But next week is Christmas, so Merry Christmas, you guys. I hope you have the best holiday, and we'll see you later. Bye.